What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the data that came out for today, what's going on with Nvidia's earnings, and how the share prices are looking for all these different stocks moving forward. But before I bring the doubles information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, deposit $100, you are guaranteed 7 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon, just about 6 days from now. Anyways, for the markets, let's talk about what's happening with the chart. Right now in SPY, we have a very nice looking bullish wedge that's been forming. We did see a little dip right here that made things a little bit more complicated, only to get bought back up and make our way back up within this wedge. So overall, the bulls are still winning because, yes, we got a little sell-off at the end of the day today because of some bad data. But we ended up getting a big push back up in the after hours thanks to Nvidia. And it looks like Nvidia is going to be king because SPY is green in the after hours. The market's back to pushing up again. And SPY is at a pretty good level right now, in my personal opinion. So I'm going to break down more details about the charts in just a couple of minutes. But I first want to prioritize talking about what's happening with the markets for now. So for today, as a reminder, we just had the FOMC minutes come out a couple of hours ago. This caused the market to actually dip a bit. But we have more data coming out for tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be Thursday, May 23rd. We have initial jobless claims an hour before the market opens, alongside continuing jobless claims. And then at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the S&P Global Composite PMI, the manufacturing PMI, and services PMI all coming out. Not to mention new home sales at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and a few more pieces of data which are going to be very important. I'll be watching to see what happens with initial jobless claims and these other pieces of data like PMI. And we're going to be very patient when all this data comes out. Now, today was very interesting. SPY basically was holding up above this trend line for the entire day. Then during the last 1.5 hours, we saw this big rug pull because we got the FOMC minutes. And that caused a little bit of a dip because the minutes showed a lot of worry about the lack of progress on inflation. So basically, the minutes gave us a report from the other Fed speakers. They were basically saying that inflation is still hot. They have to continue to be very open-minded to tightening or even raising rates if they have to, if worst comes to show. And they said a lot of things just like that. And that's very different from what Jerome Powell has been saying. Now, this could have just been a trap, though. And here's the trap. They could have just dumped the market because they knew it was going to pump after Nvidia's earnings. They just dumped it to get some good deals on SPY. They tried to buy the dip. And you guys can see the buyers did step in as SPY is pushing back up to where it was earlier today. We're actually not too far from all-time highs. We're less than 1 point away. So we dipped just to get bought back up. And it could have just been that they dropped it just to get ready for the pump. That's a strong possibility. So what happened for today? Today, we just had Nvidia's earnings. Nvidia did very well. Shares have passed $1,000 for the first time on the AI-driven sales surge, and that's very awesome news for them. Going forward, this is a new all-time high that Nvidia is at. It's holding above 1,000 at the time I'm recording this. And overall, Jensen Huang said a lot of important things about revenue and such. So the stock was up about 7% in total. It's currently up quite a bit, very close to that right now. Nvidia says it's going to be doing a 10-to-1 stock split, which is very useful because it's going to make shares more affordable for retail and more people out there who are interested in playing it. That's going to be very important. The EPS was at $6.12, which is above expectations. Revenues at $26.04 billion, above expectations. And for the current quarter, this is kind of like their guidance. They're telling us that they're expecting sales of $28 billion. That's above what Wall Street was expecting at $26.61 billion. So strong guidance, good net income growth, good growth year over year, beating expectations. A stock split, not to mention potential buyback is another possibility they mentioned, and more growth when it comes to their other developments. Those are some very awesome things, and that is very bullish, at least for the share price moving forward. Very awesome stuff in my opinion. Gaming revenue is going up, other pieces of revenue are increasing, and we're seeing some amazing growth moving forward. Now, some people may argue that Nvidia is overvalued and this and that. Well, it's very driven by AI and forward thinking. So you could argue whatever you want. At the end of the day, guys, we're not going to worry about is it undervalued or overvalued. You could say whatever you want and argue anything. At the end of the day, it's pumping. At the end of the day, the technicals are still bullish, and we just have to go based off of those. Don't worry about people saying that, oh, it's way too overvalued, it has to crash tomorrow. Nope. There's no sign of that yet. And right now, the share price is still bullish, holding up very well in the 1,000s. It's technically above 1,000, so that's why I could say that. Moving forward, the fear and greed index is currently at greed still. It did dip a little bit because we had a little bit of a drop in the markets, but this might start to shift this way again as buyers are stepping back. Market momentum is still greedy as more buyers are continuing to push the markets higher. We're also starting to see the puts and call option positioning dipping a little bit. This is because right now the calls are making up the majority of sentiment and more buyers are still stepping in. Market volatility is also quite neutral right now. It's neutral kind of in the middle because the VIX is still dipping. We'll see if anything changes with the VIX, but there's still some more bearish signals for it, which is still bullish for the markets. With that being said, let's now focus on the charts. What do I think is going to happen moving forward? Let's first talk about the queen of the day, Nvda. What is she doing? How is she looking, in my personal opinion? Let's pull up the 4-hour time frame just to kind of go over how this move is looking. Basically, when you zoom out of the charts, one thing I've been saying is that Nvidia looks bullish from a technical standpoint. So we'd see if earnings kind of aligned with that. And so far, we had good earnings, good guidance, good growth, and etc. Not to mention the stock split being announced. That is bullish news for Nvidia. We're at a new all-time high. The share price is currently up 6.03% at $1,006 now, continuing to surge. So it's looking very, very bullish. And this could actually help the market pump tomorrow, in my opinion. So there's a very good chance we're going to see even more upside. So this could even keep going, guys. It doesn't have to even stop right here. It could just pump a little bit more, get up to 1,020, just keep going. There's no sign it's done yet, and it's holding up very well. At the time I'm speaking, it's still going up a little bit higher. So you guys can see how strong it really is. Why is this important? Because when you look at SPY, we actually bring up like the hourly time frame and kind of like zoom in a little bit more, just kind of break this down. I want to show you guys something very interesting that's going on. Basically, for SPY, you guys can see how it's been just kind of trading within this range right here between 528 and 531. It's been stuck like this for quite some time, but today we kind of touched 528 only to get bought back up in the after hours. So as long as we hold above this wedge, this bullish wedge is still going to be valid, and we could be looking for a break to new all-time highs. If the all-time high breaks tomorrow, in my opinion, I think 533 is going to be our target to 534. If we end up rejecting and we fail to hold 530, then yes, I'll be looking at 529.5 in lower levels. But so far, with Nvidia surging and the fact that we got a dip today only to get bought back up, it just tells us that the bulls are still in control. The bulls, they let the market dip a bit only to buy it back up. They're stronger, they have an edge, they have interest in the stocks, and they still have power to push us higher. One concern about SPY is the fact that volume is declining, yes, but SPY is pumped on low volume plenty of times. So I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to push. I do favor upside a little bit more. If we do break the all-time high, I'll be looking for 533. That looks more probable thanks to Nvidia. For Tesla, it's the same thing. Now, Tesla is very, very unique because it's very news-driven. So if we were to lose 170, and I'm going to be looking at the 200 EMA at 176.4, followed by 175, and this imbalance down here. If we lost 178, if we end up getting a bounce, you want to see it break past 182. If that breaks, we have a gap to fill all the way up here in the 185 area, all the way up here. So I favor that because of Nvidia, Tesla might come down a bit and then eventually try to rebound to at least 182 and then try to go a little higher than that, maybe into the mid 180s. But I'm not 100% confident because it really depends on the news that comes out. And there's no sign of a true bounce yet on Tesla unless we break past our 20 EMA at 180. We have to try to break 180 first. Thanks to Nvidia, it could try to bounce. So we'll see if that ends up happening for tomorrow, but it might not be as strong because Tesla's a little bit lackluster. It's a little bit weak compared to the market, so I'll have to give this more time. So we'll see how it ends up moving. For a few more out there, we also have the QQQ. The QQQ is breaking out to new all-time highs, hitting 458. I don't think it's done yet. I think we could be continuing to go up to 460. We might see a nice squeeze tomorrow. If we were to lose 456.5, I'll be looking at 455.5 and 454. But overall, with the uptrend and this potential break, I think that there's more upside potential and we could be breaking past 458. For Aapl has previous resistance right here, becoming supports at this 190.5 area. If we bounce off this, we're going to be looking for 191.38, eventually 192. If we lose 190.5, we're going to be looking for a dip all the way down to this imbalance towards 189.3. So I favor a little bounce right here and a push back up towards 192 as a stronger possibility. So I think Aapl will try to bounce as long as we hold above 190.5, and that looks a little bit more probable. We'll see if that ends up being the case, but I do favor that somewhat more. Lastly, for Bitcoin, let me make it very clear that right now Bitcoin is dipping a bit. It's still continuing to stall to 69,000 as our support. We might actually lose it. Looking a little bit weak right now. We might see Bitcoin actually dip a little bit towards 68,500. So all the way in this area right here, this previous resistance becoming support. We could dip a little bit more if we lose 69,000, and then we'll be watching to see if it bases around that level. So be a little bit careful with Bitcoin. It is dipping just a little bit. We are looking a little bit weaker on the 4-hour, and we've lost our 20 EMA. So the odds do favor a bit of a dip, but watch to see if we get a bounce afterwards. So maybe, you could see market kind of like flowing away right now, at least given what we've been heard. And we'll have to see what happens at least moving forward, but just be very, very wary of these technicals. Anyways, that is it for my analysis when it comes to the main 5 I typically go over. Let's now talk about the other tickers. So we're going to actually focus on Neo just really quickly before I talk about Microsoft and the others. Neo is actually kind of flat right now, but I do see a very, very nice thing developing. I think that Neo has a nice base forming at 5. We're going to be looking for a nice bounce, a nice little rebound as we approach the month of June. We're just about 9 days away from the last day of May, so I think that soon we're going to get a bounce in the stock. We're not ready yet, so it might just continue to shuffle. For Palantir right over here is kind of trading sideways. If we were to bring up the 4-hour time frame, you can see how it's trying to rebound just a bit. It is trying to base at 21. We did call out 21. So I think it might actually try to get back up to about 21.5, then just continue to trade sideways. It's not really doing anything too crazy. For Supermicro, we're getting a nice bounce in the after hours right now. I told you all that Nvda is going to affect this, and you guys can see how it's helping us. So if we continue to push with Nvda, look for 920 then 940 as potential targets. As of right now, it has some more upside potential, and Nvda is affecting this big time. For Rivian, in my video from yesterday, I did talk about how there could be a head and shoulders, that we might be testing a key support at 10. If we lost 10, we'd be looking for a dip. If we held 10, we're going to be looking for a bounce. And what happened? During our dip, we actually held 10, and we got a nice rebound right over here. We're currently testing our 10.66 area, the 200 EMA in the 4-hour time frame as resistance. If we break through this, we have an imbalance to fill all the way up to towards 11.11. And if we reject, we're going to be looking at support at 10.37. I think it might retrace a little bit to about 10.37, then bounce and continue to push higher for that 11 target. So look for a little dip and a bounce as the strongest possibilities. For SoFi, we're kind of flat right now, continuing to range trade, but I think that there might be a test coming again towards the $7 area before it tries to rebound towards 7.15. But overall, we're just kind of trading sideways. There's a little head and shoulders like structure, so it might tip a little bit more towards 7. Watch for a test of that before it tries to rebound, and we'll see how things end up moving. For the IWM Russell 2000, I want to make it very clear that right now we're seeing another change in development right here. Despite the fact that we got this little sell-off, I want to make it very clear that this is not necessarily the end of the world. And the reason for that is because, we're still holding our 50 EMA. If we hold the 50 EMA at this 206 area, look for a little rebound to 208. If we lose this support right here, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards 204. So be very, very patient with this and watch and see how we end up holding. We're not doing too bad, but I'm going to be watching the support if we hold 206 or not. That's going to be our 50 EMA. So watch and see if we get a break or not. For AMD is actually on a bit of an uptrend right over here. So I do see potential for us to try to go a little bit higher. We have resistance all the way up here at this 170 area. And with, with Nvidia pushing, I think that this is also going to try to rebound as well as technicals look bullish. So I see 170 to 172 coming for the share price. It looks a bit more bullish to me. For ARM, we're also looking a little bullish after Nvidia's earnings. Going to be looking for a test of about 118 then 120. So I favor a little bit of a move to the upside as a stronger possibility. For Coinbase is actually looking pretty decent right now. We're on a slight uptrend. We have support currently at this 222 area. We have resistance at 232. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually continue to shuffle for a bit. So it might actually dip a bit again, retest 225, then come back up to 232. But I think we could try to break a little higher above that since we're still continuing to uptrend. So look for a little dip and a bounce for a push for higher levels. For Amazon's kind of dipping a little bit. So we're going to be looking for a test of 182, then 180.75. This range right here before it tries to bounce again. But we're still kind of range bounce. That's going to determine what the bigger move is. If we break past 185, we're bullish. If we lose 180.75, we're more bearish. I think we might just trade sideways for now in that range. That's going to determine the bigger move. For Meta, we're looking a bit more bullish on the 4-hour time frame. I'm going to be looking for a test of about 472 again. So I do favor some upside as a stronger possibility. For Microsoft, we're on a very, very strong looking uptrend right now. There's no sign of this kind of ending just yet, but resistance is getting tougher at this 432 area. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually kind of stall up there. So look for 432 to be potentially tested, and we'll see what happens after that. For Google, Google is currently testing our 20 EMA at this 177 area. And we bounce off this, we're going to be looking for a pushback up towards this imbalance. We also have a gap to fill at 179. And if we end up losing 177, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards 175. So in my personal opinion, with this nice uptrend being established, I think that that's going to be very key for the way we're moving. I also think that with this bounce potentially coming, we could be trying to push up higher. So watch for a test of 177. If we bounce off this, we have a gap to fill to 179. If we lose this, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards 175. So watch for a test of 177 tomorrow, and we'll see which way it goes. It's not showing that much strength right now. We did call a little bit of a dip as well. For GME, we're in a critical place. If we lose 19, we're bearish, we're going to fall to 17. If we actually hold above 22, look for a push all the way up to 24. And if that breaks, we're pushing up to 30. What do I think is going to happen? I think that as of right now, we're building a very, very nice base right here. And we could be looking for a push as we approach June back up towards 30. So there might be a little June push coming, in my opinion, next week. So I see some potential in that. AMC is also building momentum. The share price is looking more bullish as we have these imbalances to fill. So I think we might be pushing back up to $8 within 1.5 months from now. So I think AMC might slowly shuffle and slowly push its way back up towards 8. So watch for that very carefully. When it comes to the dollar, not the dollar, the DJT, we came all the way down to our targets, to our 200 EMA, and kind of bounced off of this. We're looking like we're trying to base a bit. So look for a little bit of a retracement to establish this a bounce. So it might retrace a bit, and then if it establishes a higher low relative to this low, it's going to try to continue to slowly uptrend back up towards our 20 EMA around 45 to 46. I think that it might be pushing all the way back up to about 47 ultimately once we get that break. So look for a little drop and then a bounce. That is looking a bit more probable to me. The VIX is continuing to fall. It was trying to bounce today, but now, like I said, be very, very mindful of that. The VIX is not officially getting a big break above this resistance. It's not breaking above like 14 or 15 yet. So we have to give this some time just to see how things progress. For Coinbase, Coinbase has a nice, not Coinbase, the dollar index. The dollar index is right here. Sorry about that, guys. The dollar is still trying to push towards 105. If we reject off 105, we're going to be dipping, and that could be bullish for the markets. If we break through 105, this could push higher, and that could be bearish for the markets. So we'll have to give this some time. And then we have the 10-year Treasury yield. This has an inverse head and shoulders, but still kind of trading sideways thanks to the Fed. It did bounce a bit thanks to the Fed today, but we'll have to see what it does from here because it's still shuffling. It's not really very decisive, so we have to give it some more time. With that being said, though, with Nvidia pushing, the odds do favor more upside for the markets. We did dip today only to get bought back up, so that's a big sign that the market has more potential. So I favor upside again for tomorrow. I think the market may attempt to break through all-time highs, and I think SPY could go up to 533 from this point on. I favor that, but make sure you watch your levels just to be safe. If we hypothetically lose 528, we could turn back to bearish, but I'm not seeing signs of that yet. We didn't really lose it today. We dipped close to that level, came a little below it, only to get bought back up. So right now, the bulls are in control, and they favor us trying to test and eventually break all-time highs going into tomorrow, in my personal opinion. That's my unbiased analysis, guys. I try my best to be as unbiased as possible in making these videos. I want the best for everyone, so please just know that I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for your views and your kind comments, and I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow morning before the market opens. Thanks again, guys, and peace out.